Born ready.
Okay, with the filmmaking team of Daniel and Marta Renzi and Daniel Wolff, we showed a few films of the films of their past. We're going to be talking about Cathy and Harry today. Short film, 45 minutes long. The funny thing about this film is that you guys are a couple, and you guys are making a film about another couple, I guess.
Us heterosexuals got to stick together, you know?
But it's about, but did it dawn on you that that's what you were doing when you were making the film?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I mean, it's funny how married people mostly have married friends, just like
Yeah,
people who have children mostly have friends with children when they're all little.
of course,
Uh,
yeah. I can
but yeah,
relate. I did it. It's the same thing. Like all of our friends now are our kids' friends, right? So
uh-huh, uh-huh.
yeah,
Right.
it's kids' parents, I should say. Yeah.
Kathy and Harry have been friends of ours for 40 plus years.
So before, during, and after kids.
Okay.
You know, they were partly an inspiration for me, and I think for Marta, just in terms of couples who kept making their art despite the ups and downs of what that takes.
And didn't kill each other in the process.
Not yet.
That's the key question. That's the way you just said. Meaning that how because marriage is one relationship, and then you have a creative relationship. And I've always kind of stated this: it's hard to have two relationships, hard to have one relationship like that's successful, but two different relationships in one couple, that's very difficult. What's the secret ingredient to doing that?
I don't know the secret ingredient, but in some ways it's easier, I think, because you've had all the fights and the hassles in your marriage. But in our case, anyway, I don't know about Kathy and Harry, before you tried to make something together. So you kind of been over the turf some, and you know each other, and you trust each other's judgment. Um, and
And we both have other projects, which
Sure.
helps. I mean, we both also work alone. I think if this was if we only collaborated together, I think it would put a strain.
yeah, we know couples like that. It's not pretty to see.
Well, I don't know what their secret is, but
I mean, Kathy and Harry don't collaborate, for
right,
example.
right.
Yeah.
They inform each other and are inspired by each other, I think, and turn to each other for critical response to
As
what they
do
make.
we.
Yeah.
But it's not like they're working on the same thing. I don't think they would be happy doing that.
Well, you see a lot of actors, I guess, like get together. You don't see many filmmakers kind of get together. I remember reading a book, and this is like in the 90s, and Tarantino went on a date with another filmmaker, and he says, "I can't do this." He's like, I can't date another filmmaker. I'm the filmmaker, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
not saying that I'm just saying maybe it's his ego, maybe it's his personality, right? But it's like
Well,
that
in
alpha,
this
right?
in this collaboration, she's the filmmaker. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what she does most of the time, and I
gotcha.
help out with what she does some, and then a collaboration means I help even more. But I'm not competitive. She's very good at making films, and I am not.
I was thinking today that I tend to be intuitive. Is that because I came from dance? I don't know, but the decisions I make tend to be about some unspoken logic that is probably more flow than analysis. And I was thinking one of your strengths as a writer and as a filmmaker is is that you not that you have no intuition, but that you're more analytical.
I think that's probably right. I do the structural stuff more,
Gotcha.
and I sort of cast a jaundiced eye on things that are just, oh, it just feels right. I kind of go, yeah, but what's it mean? Or why is it there? So I think that drives Marta crazy some of the time, but I think it's also useful some of the time.
So in its general sense, you're the right brain, she's the left brain.
If we believe in all that,
Yeah,
sure,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm just using an analogy, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
right. That's why I'm seated to her right.
Yeah,
Seat
exactly.
kid.
But it's my left, funny enough, but basically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this couple, when did you kind of approach them about like, I want to we want to make a movie with you guys?
I think 2 years before we finished. We did it for about 2 years,
Okay.
maybe a little more, and they were receptive right away.
Yeah.
That
I think it was sort of my idea, but I don't know why I had it, except that I cherished them and wanted it you know, somehow documented what they did and how they lived. I mean, it's a film about their art, but it's even more about, I think, the two of them and how they,
Exactly. Yeah, that's what the thematic is. Yeah, it's really about
yeah.
them. Yeah.
And speaking of collaborations, Kathy said the other night at some talk back that it really was a collaboration between the four of us. Today, I was also thinking, is that a bad thing that it's so cooperative? That they did have a permission to say, no, leave that out, leave that in. So there's collaboration in that sense, but also I think they felt invested in the conversations, which is a kind of collaboration, that not just with
Right.
each other, but with us off screen.
Well, it's a, what you see in the film is essentially a conversation we've been having for decades that we, captured in the last couple of years, but it's stuff we talk about all the time anyway. And it's not a film with a particularly critical eye. You could
That's what I mean by,
Yeah, you could criticize it for that. We never thought we were going to make a film that revealed the secrets of Cathy and Harry, or, you know,
warts and all.
no, this was to celebrate what they did.
So
And their warts are visible. I'm sorry, did you want to
no,
say
go ahead,
something?
go ahead. No, I've seen some of their work. Like I didn't know until I watched the film, right? Like the subway
Oh, cool.
station. Yeah, like I think what 60, I think 60, the 60th subway station in New
Yeah,
York.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wall Street.
Wall Street.
the Wall
Yeah.
Street, yeah, the Wall Street, yeah. So
Yeah, and
then,
if you,
then yes, it's funny, like because there's context now, right? Where you see this artwork and also you're showing like the people who have to take this art and like ship it and kind of hang it properly, and it's like all this kind of like collaborative, or you talk about collaboration, like this whole like it's a machine, I guess, right? So
yeah, yeah. And
him
there's,
having the eye to understand, okay, so it's going to go here. This is the color schematic at the station. It's sort of like it's interesting. There's so many elements to kind of putting it up. It's just so fun. It's so interesting. It's kind of fascinating. It could be a whole movie in itself. How that process is.
yeah, art installation. And on Kathy's hand, who makes, paintings, not sculpture, there's a whole gallery system that you get to meet in the movie, the head of the gallery. And there's a show every 4 years and a whole publicity machine that cranks up about that and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's a little business behind the art.
Oh, 100%. So you guys start filming. Was there a plan, like a thematic plan, where no, you just started shooting?
No, we shot with my cell phone and
Yeah.
we had delicious dinners at their house during all this time. So it was
So they
never
did the
painful.
figuring, I guess.
Exactly. So it was never painful to say, gee, we have to go back. And I started editing right away. Or not, almost right away.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. So like a year in at least, I was already editing. So we saw what we had and what we didn't have.
And we filled in some gaps, but for example, we flew back from Europe and there was Harry's sculpture in JFK in where the passengers come in. So we filmed that.
Yeah.
Marta filmed that. That was kind of Providence. But other things we said, okay, Kathy's going to have a show at her gallery. We'll go there. We would have gone anyway, but we'll go there and we'll film and we'll interview the gallery director. But a lot of it was just what they were doing, whatever day we showed up.
Gotcha. And then, okay, so then I don't know if this was conscious or unconscious on your part, but I'm watching the film and they're really not together that often. They're not in the same frame. Even when you showed them at the dinner table, I don't know if it was more of like a logistical thing, but they're always separated. I don't know if that was conscious on your part.
Well, that's how they sit at the dinner table.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I mean. Maybe it could be logistical, but it kind of makes sense. No, but thematically, just from an emotional, unconscious emotional level, it's like they're their own person, and then they
Yeah.
kind of gather, at dinner and say, okay, this is what I worked on. This is what I worked on.
Yeah,
right,
I
which
mean,
is what, sorry.
you asked earlier about the magic ingredient that
Yeah.
makes such a thing work. Part of it, I think, is having separate areas, rooms,
Yeah.
and stuff, and so you aren't in each other's hair all day long.
And then there's that little coda at the end where the two of them are sitting side by side
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
presentationally, and they can hardly stand it, or Kathy can't, Harry can't.
Well, just from it's almost like a catch-22 where like in order to have separate art studios, you have to be successful. So you know what I mean? Like, so there's like probably thousands of artist couples in New York City right now living in this small space, right? Because because that's what they can afford, right?
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
Right.
in order to get that separation, you got to be successful, I guess.
Well, I think even if you're selling stocks and a lawyer, I
Yeah,
think you and your partner probably need a little separation at some point during the day.
of course.
Make
Yeah,
it work.
100%. Yeah, that's what it's about. But it's like, I love, like, you kind of go into their worlds, right? Like, when you, even the way you shot it, Kathy's world, where you go into her, like, kind of like you move in with her and you show this, like it's so cool. It's like, oh, I would love to, like, walk into this room and see, you know what I mean? It has this such an exciting energy when in her room, right? Because she's like doing all this amazing stuff, and it's like just the way she has it set up, right? I'm fascinated by stuff like that.
Yeah, so they bought, as part of the movies, they bought this old farm in upstate New
Yeah.
York. And so they had a barn that could be Harry's studio, and they had chicken coops that could be Kathy's studio, and they gradually fixed them up. And it means that there's a little walk, a little separation, a little distance between what they do all day, and then they meet back in the kitchen, essentially, right?
Yeah,
And have a meal and watch TV and go to bed.
yeah. So
Although they
they're
have
like a
a,
normal couple, except they're just artists.
Right.
yeah.
Well, I don't know about normal, but
No, but what I mean is that you go to work, she goes to work, then you guys
right,
have dinner, and then you watch Jeopardy, and then you go to bed, right? So
Yeah.
exactly.
The difference might be, I don't know, maybe it's like if you're both in the same profession, although you work separately, they have so many conversations about the art world, their
yeah,
own art, their friends who are artists. I mean, it's not like, one is a teacher and one is a,
Yeah, but it's similar in that I think at the end of the day, so here's what I did today. The other person says, was that good or bad? And you
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
compare notes. If you're a teacher and a banker or two artists, it's that way you share info at the end of the day.
and there's also like so much trial and error too, right, in their work.
Yeah.
A thing I want to ask is, how come nobody comments on how it's raining when Kathy is painting outdoors? I mean, it's not raining hard, but are you aware that it's raining when she's painting outdoors?
Of the
No,
tree. She's painting the tree.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
raining. I mean, there are drops falling, and she's not dripping, but I guess it's not so clear. That's why nobody mentions it.
yeah,
I
It is
tried to enhance the rain.
it is clear. I don't know. It's just not by then people are caught up in the story, I think. They're not looking at that.
Well, and she says that, it's not always wonderful. There bugs fly up your nose. I wish she'd say it's raining.
Right.
yeah. But okay,
No, thank you for being an honest audience member.
but why is she painting in the rain then? Why is
Because
she?
the light is right. It's not raining so hard that she
Yeah,
can't do it, and the light has to be not sunny for that particular painting.
Yeah, her paintings are all dependent on weather, or most of them,
The
except
outdoor ones.
the outdoor ones. So if it's, sunny, she'll go out there even if it's 110 because she needs to get her work done. Or if it's rainy and she needs cloud cover, as Marta says, then she does it then.
So she usually has a few paintings or drawings or both going on at once. So she doesn't have to depend on the weather to finish painting A. She can have a sunny day painting and a
Right.
cloudy day painting and a
and one
painting
thing I
indoors.
noticed too is that I'm assuming Harry is in his 70s or in that kind of
Both
area.
are.
He's a very modern guy. Like, he's in tech with the technology and with his art. Like, he seems to be like really in the know.
Much more than Kathy, who is,
Yeah,
choosing to be more Amish about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kathy still has a flip phone. He's busy working on, video enhancement
Yeah.
in ways.
And the learning curve, I mean, he's learning a lot now. At his first one, I know Wild Sound is showing his grocery shopping movie, but these China ones, he's getting
Oh,
more
he's
more
the guy who did
sophisticated.
the grocery shopping movie. That's a big conversation in the editing room. Yeah, because he's a professor, right?
Yeah.
Not anymore, but yes, for 40 years.
Okay. So what did
Yeah.
you think about the grocery store movie?
I haven't seen it. I only saw the little bit, the only little clip that introduces the feedback, which he shared with me last night.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
seen the China stuff. We haven't seen the grocery shopping yet.
But I can imagine.
Well, it's such a small world. I didn't see the connection.
Uh,
But so Yeah, because it's like I had it in my notes. It's like food is a big important part of their relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's like
And
they're
he's
all,
the girl. He's more the shopper, and she the cook. He gets the list from the cook, Kathy.
yeah. So then,
So
so
he is
then,
more the shopper, and he's also not that she's antisocial, but he adores connecting with people out in the world and takes photographs of them. That's part of his art.
that's
He
the film.
drives.
Yeah.
He drives. She doesn't. So he does the chores. Those chores.
So yeah, because that's the film. It's a film about like him. This is his family, like 2, 3 times a week, right?
Right.
And I have a personal connection because I grew up in a grocery store. So I worked in a grocery store for
Ah,
like a decade of my life, right? So,
Where was that?
sorry,
Where was the grocery store?
in Niagara Falls.
Ah,
So I was a dairy manager when I was like for the last 2 years of university. So I was a full-time dairy manager and I went to school full-time as well.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm
So I would
definitely going
wake
to
up at
share
like
this.
5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, go to work, do my orders, like log the
Bless
cottage
you.
cheese and milk. And then I would go to school, and then I would come back later. I would come back in the evening. Yeah.
Wow.
Look what a grown-up you are now. You don't have to work in the dairy section.
I don't, but yeah, I have a hard time even going to grocery stores now because I have so much like context. Like sometimes it's Costco. I don't like going to Costco, right?
Mhm.
You
So
know
I don't
too
know
much.
something about it. But so yeah, so
And
that's what
you also know, Matthew, that replica is on their replica that I made and that you guys are also nice enough to show
yeah,
is made on their property.
yeah,
That's that iron house that they pass at the very end.
That's Kathy's sculpture.
It's the
gotcha,
only sculpture she's designed.
Right.
gotcha. That's yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
No, it's all
it's a
looping around, right? Yeah,
yeah.
it's all that.
Yeah.
It's small world. So yeah, so because the grocery store movie is that he just basically just connects with his family. It's almost like a he has like a hidden camera and he's just connecting with like these grocery store people. So
Who
Right.
are not literally his family, you know that.
no, of course not. But I'm saying
Right,
that for
right.
him, it's like this is his
His
like
peeps.
family for an hour, right? Like
Yeah.
there's an
Right.
emotional connection that he has. And I never thought of that in my life. So basically, when I was working, I never people would come up to me and say hi for 5 minutes to the regulars, but I never had that. Oh, this
Right,
must be important to them. I never
right.
thought of that until watching that movie, right? So
Well, this is very interesting feedback, which I'll be sure to share with Harry.
no,
You know,
I found it because like I had that history, right? So it's just funny.
Right.
So so basically he's the modern guy. He's the one who's like fighting. It's almost like I call fighting. I have it written down like fighting his fears, like of the technology. Like he's embracing the world, embracing the future in a sense.
yeah. And although he says it's going to take me forever to finish this,
Yeah,
and it probably still will because he makes it more sophisticated as he learns more.
yeah.
He's had a new assistant recently who's turning him on to new possibilities in digital manipulation. So he's going deeper and longer.
And as he says, the process is part of what he's been doing forever, is cutting things out, and he's just doing it on video now and making these little films. But he was doing collages and all kinds of things. It
And
connects to his art. It's just the technology has moved it into a new area.
yeah, and he does that whole conversation about relief, how deep the relief is.
Yeah.
And it's when he was more of only a sculptor and or sculptor and collagist. But now that he's doing video, he's also working with depth,
Yeah. Yeah.
though it's literally not.
Yeah, they're different. Like basically, they're different. They're different types of artists.
Yeah.
Like she's yeah. So and she does like a lot of like self portraits and a lot of like
Yes,
non
he
kind
does
of
too. Do you know that he does it daily? I think self-portrait. He has a
Photography.
right.
yeah.
Right.
But she's kind of looking at the like I'm being general again. She's
Yeah.
kind of looking at the macro and he kind of looks at the micro. Like even his art is like very much right in front of us, right? Like so
Right.
yeah.
Well, he does those drawings where he spends all day just circling one dot on a
Yeah.
piece of paper, that sort of thing, while she's, trying to draw the pond out back and
Yeah,
somebody's
exactly.
standing in
Yeah.
front of it.
Well, but there's another way to think of it, which is that he also, part of his art is going out into the world, into the grocery store. So he also enlarges in that way. And hers are more not just domestic, not just in the house, but close relationships usually, except for landscapes.
Yeah.
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 But it's like
they're-
someone's been there before. Like even like he's got that you cut close in on his art of like the pillow, the and it's like it's all like this like we're a human has been there. There's character in this kind
Right.
of general kind of aesthetic that we live in, right? So
right.
but
Right.
there's a history there. There's a history
Right.
within just on someone's pillow, I guess, right? So
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things she says in the movie too, is there's this stuff that daily we don't look at that is in fact beautiful and important, and her job is kind of to look at that. And he has something similar, when he,
Grocery
Grocery
stores that
store.
in a funny way, isn't it? Grocery shopping, I mean.
yeah, that he's looking at the day to day, but he's also looking, at a piece of plywood and decided he's going to draw it for a year and a half on a piece of linen. So there's that side too.
And we have that in common too, I think, because
I don't draw linen
no,
or plywood.
no, but we try to make work that's recognizes what we have in common and doesn't try and get too highfalutin.
Vernacular.
Vernacular is what the
Gotcha.
four of us have in common.
so tell me about the editing process. So you said you shot them for 2 years and then you shot on your phone, which is amazing. Like this is the thing now because there's so many documentaries just that are well shot on the phone. So
And then
you
I
went into
realized,
the-
I realized because I'm a piker that I could have done it in 4K. So in the future, I guess I'll learn how. It wasn't. It was just the usual. Sorry.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, get the new iPhone, I guess, right? So yeah, not trying to hawk Apple, but basically
Exactly.
Right.
the video is kind of amazing. It's like it's
I mean-
better than a camera. It's than a professional camera. It's extraordinary, right? So
Yeah.
I never thought that like 15 years ago that like that this would be a thing, but it is. So
Yeah.
so you're shot like so you shot. I'm assuming hours of film, and then you had to get some stock footage of their art, and you kind of showcase their evolution of their art, and then you had to find. I'm assuming you had to find a story too, right? Like you had to find a linear story within
It's
the
not
footage.
so linear, is it really?
Well, meaning that it's like I'm talking about just like a structured beginning, middle, and end
Mhm.
structure, right? So
Yeah, we started talking about it chronologically. Let's
Yeah.
let's do this from when they met through to the present, and then it got all moved around. But that just gave us something to start, some way to start talking structure.
And you notice that there's very little of I was born in and my
Yeah.
early influences were and all that junk.
Yeah.
And she has, but they both have great stories about becoming an artist and about her Irish family. You hear a little bit about, and I'm sort of sorry, if we made a longer movie, although I'm glad we didn't do the she was born in and blah blah blah. I kind of wish it's important to Cathy, for example, that her mother was a housemaid. And we don't hear
Domestic,
that.
as we say. Yeah. Part of I'm very pleased with the structure, but part of how it grew was that you realize this was a conversation among four people. And then in a conversation, you don't say, "Oh, I was born in Lexington, Massachusetts." It comes up when it comes up. And so the trick was to get the film to have that feel too, which is you're kind of part of their world. And as they tell you things, you piece together the whole picture.
yeah. Well, it's about context, right? Because I told you the story about me working in the grocery store, but then the reason why you know that is because we have context to why I told that story, right? So that's
Right.
usually how people tell their history, right? So
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Unless you're on a first date, and then it gets a little more formal.
but then everybody just lies, right? So you guys haven't been dating in a long time, so yeah.
Right.
I bet they still lie.
Yeah. so
So the process actually was, I keep thinking that it's so Guardians, our work on Guardians together sort of influenced this, which is that I would edit patches like these beaded, detailed scenes,
Yeah.
sort of not worrying about where they'd go. I mean, I would put scene A next to scene B, and it wouldn't necessarily stay that way, but these little patches were where I kept busy doing that, and then every once in a while we'd like put the patches in whatever order made sense and see if what was missing and what seemed to work right. And then
Yeah. So in Cathy and Harry, for example, there was going to be a little section about Harry's public sculpture. The question was, where was it going to be? Or there was going to be a little section about Cathy going to the gallery. Where was that going to fit
right.
in? So you had patches,
Yeah.
and then you had to figure out where they went.
Gotcha. So how long did that take?
It probably
year.
took a year.
Okay.
I
You're
mean, it
working on
was-
other, I'm assuming you're working on other stuff and you're just going back to it when you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
inspired?
Yeah, and then there'd be another visit. I mean, I think the visits are by what month and year we went. And I don't know, I should look for when the last visit was. The last visit was probably actually when they talk about having children or not having children,
Mhm.
because we realized that was an important thing to say. A friend who saw an early draft, like 6 months before we were done, probably, said, "Oh, I don't like these people. They're too self-centered." And I thought, well, you need to know part of what makes them seem so self-centered is probably because they chose to focus only on art and they don't have that kind of loosey-goosey thing that parents do. So we asked them about that.
Yeah.
And I think that didn't go at the end, even though we asked them about it at the end of our conversation.
No, it went early.
Right.
Yeah. And which is interesting because that's even modern too, because that a lot of historically more than ever before, couples are deciding not to have children, right? So
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and women often juggled it all. And, Cathy is right that it's hard to do that.
of course, yeah, because you can't do, yeah, you like when you're, especially it's like generally, especially the mother, right? They like, you can't work 40 hours on your art and then take care of your kid, right? So
Yeah.
something's got to
I mean,
give.
the conversations in some couples, which Cathy was trying to avoid, was when she was asked what she did, she would have said, well, he had a nap at 2 and I fed him at 6. She didn't want to have that conversation. She wanted to be painting. So
Yeah.
they decided not to have kids.
Yeah. And listen,
They-
for me, it's like, there's a lot of bad parents out there because they're almost like forced to. It's like, if you like, don't have kids if you don't think you're going to be a good parent, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, it makes for a lot of movies later where film, grown up children of neglectful parents,
yeah,
neglectful but successful parents make movies about what it was like growing up
Right.
with.
think
You
about
know,
the therapy industry. It's $1 billion industry because of that.
Right. Yeah. If they followed your advice and didn't have kids, there'd be no therapists. I mean, what would happen?
It's charming. Our son Lorenzo has a music studio, and he's offering a residency in one of the small studios to other musicians. And he's done it once before. The second one has been for musicians who are parents, which is another tough road to go. And he said, I come from 2 parents who are artists, and I know how hard it is to try and do what your work is and still help little toddler
Right.
survive. So
So Cathy and Harry
avoided that whole thing.
Yeah, made a conscious decision not to do that.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
And don't regret it. I mean,
They would have been good parents, I bet. But
yeah, Harry would have been a ridiculous parent.
I'm sure they don't regret it, right? So yeah,
I don't think so. And they have you can sort of tell, although they only talk, most of their friends are artists, but not all. And they have a huge friend collection, really, and very intimate. It's not just like, I don't know, we see them once. They have a lot of friends they see once a year probably, but they have a lot they see very regularly. And it's like a family.
So then you got the edit and then put some music to it, and then of course sound design, and then I'm assuming you showed them a cut before you distributed
Before
it?
sound design, for sure, before sound design. I mean,
yeah, because they were going to
Of
be
course,
changing.
yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, because
No, this was, I mean, it's true of Guardians of the Flame also, which we did together, which is that we wanted the subjects essentially to have the final word.
Sure.
I know not all documentarians do that, but
It's sort of a general, like, unwritten rule that you should show it to
yeah,
the subjects before you distribute it. Yeah.
right.
Not
But
only show it, but be willing to make
Yeah,
real
yeah,
change.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is their lives. Maybe our movie, but it's their lives, and
Exactly.
you want them to be happy with it. And it's not all. Cathy and Harry is not all sweetness and light. I mean, they let stuff stay in there that is difficult, I think.
Sure.
But that was their decision.
And I think Cathy learned a lesson. There was one conversation or one reference she wanted to take out because somewhere in her past she learned a lesson about, like, I should probably learn about her big mouth going on and saying something she didn't want actually to be made public.
Yeah.
So she took, there was something
Yeah.
like that she wanted to take out. And Harry wanted to take out one image of Cathy walking with him into the celebration for his retirement, where he thought, he didn't even discuss it with her. He just said, I don't think she'd like that. Would you remove it? And I didn't see why, but I did. But he
Gotcha.
didn't have any. Sometimes there was factual
There was
stuff,
stuff.
or they often said, Harry especially would say, wait, there's a better image, or we consult, there's a better image of their work to
Oh,
support
gotcha. Yeah,
this.
yeah. Because it's almost like a historical document of their work, so they want to make it that they want to make sure that's right. Of course.
Accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cathy said, oh, it'd be very good to show at our memorial.
Yeah.
Not really. Too long.
At their memorial, so they're
Yes.
gonna at the same time.
Well, I don't know. We don't know that. We don't know that.
Yeah, they have a mutual friend, a filmmaker named Ralph Arlick, who made a movie called I Like It Here, which Cathy and Harry also appear in. And it's about, older people seeing their life beginning to end.
Mhm.
And he says to Cathy, I guess, Harry does the grocery shopping, Harry does so much. What if he goes first? And she can't quite answer.
Yeah.
Pretty clearly, she hopes he doesn't go first.
Mhm.
Yeah, our film avoids that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But it's not a good subject, but it's an interesting subject, right? So
Oh, it's
Yeah.
a good film Ralph made.
it's a
Very
actually a good question to ask every couple. I know it's a little bit disturbing, but you learn a lot of insight if you ask a couple that question.
All right.
Because I need to go first, so over my wife. So basically, like now because the
You're
kids,
answering the question now.
right?
You need to go first?
Pardon? Yeah,
Do you
well,
need
the
to go
kids.
first?
It's all about the kids. Like she's everything to the kids, right? So like, yeah. But
And you work
maybe
together.
later on it'll change. I don't know.
You collaborate. This is Allison, right? Who's got the same name as you?
Yeah, yeah,
So you collaborate on Wild Sound.
yeah. She does like some of the administration stuff and editing and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How's that?
It's good. It's like so, but no, basically it's good, but it's like at the same time, it's like you have to navigate it, right? So, but at the same
Sure.
time, her number one job is the family and the kids, right? My
Uh-huh.
number one job is this. So
Uh-huh.
Right.
we have that context, right? So
Right.
she carries the weight that needs to be carried because for various reasons, right? But because one, that she's very good at it, but at the same time, it's like this is my number one. Her number one is the house, right? So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right. Well, there's an interesting moment, I think, in Cathy and Harry where they say the currency of their relationship isn't going to be money, it's going to be time.
yeah,
In terms of dividing things up as artists, that's what they needed. They needed to know they could have some time to do their work.
yeah. That's
I
what
think
it's all about. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's also true of kind of any couple.
yeah,
So you have to figure out time. You need to figure out money too, but it's what your priority is.
yeah. Well, time management is so much, right? It's like that. It's that structure to the art, right? So it's
Right.
one thing that a lot of people never figure out. So
And kids don't help you figure it out. Although,
No.
I remember when I had kids, I would meet with dancers who usually also had kids
Yeah.
they were being babysat for somewhere. And we go, we don't have time to warm up. Let's just jump right
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Warm up is for sissies. Warm up is for people who don't have children.
Well, when you do your film budget, when you're doing a film, you have the budget and there's contingency, the 15% contingency. That's the kids, right?
Right.
They're the 15% contingency
Yeah.
on the film budget that you have
What's
to
a
factor
film?
in.
What's a film budget?
Yeah. On that note, I could talk to you guys forever. Great film, and you guys they're doing some amazing things in the last 4 years, and we're very proud to showcase it. And now we have a connection with Harry, which is amazing. So
Right.
thank you so
Well,
much for
it's-
everything, and hope that we could talk again soon.
It's a pleasure to be part of it. Thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.